Hi, this is Bobby Kimbrough, and welcome to Off the Cuffs. I'm excited today to have with me Miss Denise Hines, Clerk of Court. I want to welcome you to Off the Cuffs today. It's a pleasure having you over here.
Thank you.
No, thank you for coming. You know, as always, when we have guests on the show, we always ask our guests to tell us a little bit about themselves, because while some may know you, some may not. I know who you are, and I know a little bit about you, but share with us, who you are, so we can get to know you.
So I am a country girl from Alabama.
Alabama. What part of Alabama?
Enterprise, Alabama.
Enterprise, Alabama.
I grew up about 30 minutes from Florida, 30 minutes from Georgia.
Yeah.
Came to North Carolina for law school. Met my husband.
Okay.
We've been traveling the country and the globe ever since.
Where'd you go to law school at?
University of North Carolina.
Central.
No, Chapel
Hill. Well, my fault.
I'm a Tar Heel.
My fault. Excuse me. For those Tar Heel fans, I apologize for mixing it, but okay, Chapel Hill, good stuff. Yeah, okay. Yeah. Your husband, where's he from?
He's from the coast. He's from Jacksonville, North Carolina.
Jacksonville, okay. Yeah. So what did you do after that?
I stayed home and raised our 3 sons. So
That's
we have
good
3
stuff.
boys, now adults.
You know what my mother used to call that?
What?
So when I was coming up, my mother didn't work, right? And my dad didn't want her to work. So my mother, when she would go out, and people say, well, what do you do, Miss Viola? And she says, I'm a domesticated engineer. And I was like, Mom, what is that title, right? So as a little boy growing up, when my mom would say she was a domesticated engineer, I had no idea what she was talking. I thought she was a real live engineer, right? Later on in life, I feel like, Mom, okay, I get what it was then, right? So you were a domesticated engineer.
It's
That's
a
good
tough
stuff.
job.
Engineering the family.
It was, yeah.
That's all right.
Yeah.
So where else have you lived besides here?
So we started out in Chapel Hill. We went into Germany. We lived in Germany for almost 3 years.
What part?
Wiesbaden, right outside of Frankfurt.
I know a little bit about Stuttgart.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
okay.
My second child was born in Germany.
Wow.
After Germany, we went to Ohio. My husband got into college athletics. We were with Ohio University. Mm-hmm. After that, Davidson, North Carolina.
Like down the road, Davidson?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
In fact, he's a Davidson grad.
Steph Curry played down there.
Exactly.
I know a little history, yeah.
Yeah. After Davidson College, we went to the University of Kansas. We were Jayhawks for a number of years, 7 years, I believe.
Danny Manning.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were there when Roy was there and when Bill Self was there.
Wow.
And then after that, because of concerns for our parents, we had to move back to the East Coast, and we ended up here in Winston-Salem.
Wow. You've done some traveling.
Mm-hmm.
I think that I've always said that gives you a different perspective of life when you do some traveling or travel outside your place. It gives you a whole different view. I used to say that all the time, is that growing up in Winston-Salem, born and raised here, going to high school here, going to colleges around in this area.
Mm-hmm.
When I started traveling as an agent, it gave me a totally different perspective of life and seeing some things and realizing a lot of things. So, okay, that's good stuff. So what made you decide that you wanted to get into this thing called politics, right? And I ask that because people ask me that all the time. What made you decide it? And the older I've gotten, I realized, maybe it was a calling, maybe I was summoned. You ask myself that because I was headed in a totally different direction when I retired. I said, I got other plans, but sometimes it don't work. But what made you do that?
I didn't view it as getting into politics. So when I went to law school, growing up in the Deep South.
But it's politics. People always say, well, I'm not a politician. And somebody corrected me on that. Anytime you engage in where voting is taking place, you're a politician.
Right? I hear that, but that's not how I viewed it.
Okay, good stuff. Okay, I'll go with that.
So growing up as I did in the Deep South, I knew early on I wanted to go to law school. When I went to law school, I decided I didn't want to practice law, but I was on a full scholarship and it just didn't make sense to not do it. So I completed it, and plus I met my husband there and he was in law school. Terry was in law school the same time I was.
Wow.
So I graduated, but had at that point 2 children to raise. And then I stayed at home with them until they were in school. One of the things that I've learned about myself is I have a natural inclination to teach. So when the boys were school age, I went into teaching.
Wow.
I taught at the university level, and I've taught here in Winston-Salem, Forsyth County schools. So I did that until I got to the point where I didn't feel like I was making a difference anymore. And then I thought, let me go where I wanted to be, but I needed to figure out what I was going to do with that because I knew I didn't want to practice law. And it just so happened that there was a magistrate position open. I applied for it. I was hired, and I absolutely loved it. But being a magistrate, I was exposed to a lot of issues within the judicial system that I thought could easily be resolved. I thought it's very easy to think you can do something when you're on the outside looking in.
Right.
Fortunately, I was given the opportunity to be chief magistrate, and I became an insider to a lot of things going on at the courthouse. And again, it was one of those moments of, there are a lot of things here that I don't think are working correctly or could be working better. But I wasn't interested in running for anything. I really was happy being a magistrate. I just needed to figure out how to make it better. Well, then Susan Fry retired. There was lots of discussion in the courthouse about who was going to replace her. I personally went to a number of clerks and said, hey, why don't you run for this position? I went several times and none of them did. And I just decided one day, I mean, I can't continue to complain about something if I'm not willing to step in those shoes and address it. So I put my name in to be appointed by the senior resident superior court judge. I was not. And I decided that I thought I was a better candidate. So I ran in the next election for it.
I guess it goes to, if not now, then when, and if not me, then who?
It's very frustrating to be a part of a system that is supposed to help people and to see things that, in my mind, and this is my perspective because I know everyone sees it differently, that from my perspective, I think can be improved very simply. And to just sit and watch it continue to not get better was hard for me. It was very hard for me.
I get that. You know, I see a lot of things, or saw a lot of things when I was an agent, when I was a police officer, that I said, hey, you know, if I ever get the chance to do this, I want to do this. Like, there were times in my career where I felt like the administration didn't support me or support the guys. And I made myself a promise day one that I would ride and live with my guys. In other words, I would support them and let them know that I support them, because I think that's where the difference is made at. And what I have learned in my short times in politics is that people will follow you for a lot of reasons, but the most sincere of that is when they believe in you and they believe what you're doing. And so I get what you're saying when you say you want to make a difference. So now that you're there, you won the election, right?
I did. 17 months ago.
Yeah, time flies. So now that you've been sitting in that seat and you are the clerk, right? Mm-hmm. How do you feel? Do you see things differently? Because, you know, I've always heard this, I know it to be a fact, the wind blows stronger at the top.
Definitely does.
Yeah.
I will tell you the most surprising lesson that I've learned when I came in as being the chief magistrate. I worked with the clerks a lot, and I just always thought, you know, you all have resources. Why aren't you using your resources to be more efficient? And what I learned when I came in is that they were unaware of the resources that were available to them. So I came in very angry about the clerks not providing better service. And what I realized is that they didn't have the resources. They weren't aware of the resources to provide better services. So it kind of plays into what you were saying about, you know, you ride and die with your guys. That's where we are now, because it has been a challenge to get them to see that when you come in and say, why are you doing it?
We call it ride and live.
Ride and live.
Yeah.
Oh,
because we ain't dying. We ride. We call it ride and live.
That makes sense.
Yeah, we ain't falling. Yeah.
Good. One of the things that we realized when we were working together is that there are a range of abilities. And so even though I can say, hey, these resources are available to you, we have to work very closely with our staff because there are a range of abilities for us to take advantage of those resources. And in doing that, you just gain a different perspective about who they are. You know how you say, tell us about who you are.
Right.
I know a lot about our clerks, personally and professionally, and it changes how you feel about the job. So I am a lot more protective of them now than I was when I came in, because I understand that I don't fault them for the inefficient service that we were offering. They didn't know how to use the resources. They didn't know how to take advantage of the resources. And now that they have certainly risen to the occasion.
See, you know, what brings to my mind when you said that is, so everybody has what I call exposure levels.
Mm-hmm.
And what I'm saying is that, so for example, that my life experiences have exposed me to certain things that maybe someone else hasn't. So when I come into a space, my expectations of someone is based on my exposure and my experiences. And what I learned quickly is that God blessed me to see some things as an agent from a whole different vantage point. And it would be wrong for me to come in and expect somebody to be able to function at the level that I have been functioning at. And so I may want that, but the reality of it is it's going to take some time to get that. And so I get what you mean when you say that, because a lot of things that people see that we expect, right? You know, we have this thing around here, we say to each other all the time that you got to inspect what you expect. In other words, we have to inspect one another. We hold each other accountable around here. I tell my guys all the time, I don't like yes people, right? They know that. I want people to speak the truth to me, right? Even if I got coal in my eyes. Hey, Kimbrough, fix your eyes, right? I missed a belt loop this morning. I was, don't have nobody look at me when I'm getting dressed. So I came here and they told me, hey, Sheriff, you missed a belt loop. Yeah, I appreciate that. Because I think that iron sharpens iron. And a lot of times I don't think people realize that when you set in these positions of elected positions, there's a lot of pressure that comes with that. Do you feel that?
I do.
How so?
It's hard to explain to everyone that comes to the courthouse what it is that we do and what it is that we can't do. So a lot of people feel that as the clerk of court, my office is the office that the public has access to. What I tell people is that we're the only office that's not behind secure doors. So when people come to us, their expectation is that we can meet whatever need that they have because we're the courthouse. But there are a lot of entities involved, from judges to state agencies, from juvenile services to Department of Social Services, that are involved in the judicial process. So the pressure that I feel is that people expect me to know things that I don't have, to know information I don't have access to. The judge's office is where you need to go. The Superior Court office is where you need to go. Department of Social Services is where you need to go. Mm-hmm. But for them, when they come to the courthouse, I'm the clerk of court. I'm supposed to know all of that. And if something has gone wrong, it's the fault of my office. So managing expectations from the community is probably my greatest challenge as an elected official, because a lot of people just don't know about judicial services.
So educate me. Pretend I don't know, but I do know. So what does the clerk's office do? What do you do? Our
primary function is the keeper of the records. We are the custodian of judicial records. So anything that happens in court, anything that you file, we are the custodians of that record. I'm also, in the clerk's position, the judge of probate. So anything that happens in a state, when someone's loved one dies and it has to go through probate, I am the judge over that. I am the.
So what does probate mean?
It is,
because a lot of folk, got a lot of folk out here that's going to be watching us that say, hey, that's way above my legalities or understanding of a legal term.
It is processing someone's assets.
Okay.
When that person passes away, to make sure that their heirs and their creditors are appropriately taken care of based on that person's wishes, if a will exists, and if not, according to the laws of North Carolina. Wow.
That's interesting. That's good stuff. So you keep it with the records and seals, probate, and stuff like that.
I am the administrator, the HR administrator for 101 clerks.
Wow.
So I think that is probably the most demanding part of my job.
What's the most stressful part of it?
Managing all the agencies that flow through our office, because there are expectations about what we can do or not necessarily what we have the authority to do. For example, when a judge does something in court, the clerks record that information and we put it into a database that makes it available to the public.
Right.
But if a judge says to a clerk, I need you to go do this, sometimes the clerk doesn't have the authority to do that.
Right.
So it's, explaining to a judge who has already decided we're going to do this. I can't do it, but let me help you figure out how to get it done.
Okay.
It's the same thing with the public. I have members of the public who come in and say, this was supposed to happen. You all failed to make it happen. I need you to give me a new court date. I need you to get this paperwork signed. Oftentimes, if it's a criminal matter, that's the district attorney's office. That's not the clerk of court's office, but we're the office that people have access to. It's the same thing with civil matters. Right now, we have the housing crisis and evictions.
Mm-hmm.
For people, if I have a problem, I go to the courthouse. Well, at the courthouse, you can file the paperwork, but we can't necessarily provide you access to resources because that doesn't run through us as a judicial office. Those are independent agencies, most likely through the city or county or nonprofits. But for them, no, I need you to handle this right now because, of course, they have a problem and they want help. So it's managing all of those expectations because when someone comes to you and needs help, they only want help. They don't want to hear, that's not me. So that's one of the things that I've worked on with customer service with our clerks is getting them to understand how to talk to our public so that our public doesn't feel like we're not there to help them, even if we are not where they need to be. So one of the things that happened very frequently was that I would hear clerks say, well, I can't answer that question because that's legal advice. So now we've had training classes and we talk about it frequently. What's another way you can say that? Let me tell you what I can do. Or if a person says, I need you to do this in its DA's office, well, let me call the DA's office and see if I can get someone on the phone for you so that there is a continuity of service with us instead of I come here for help and you're not helping me.
So question for you. So you've been there how many
17
months? 17 months. So based on what you've seen in 17 months, right? What's the future? What do you want to modernize? What do you want to do differently? So I ask people this all the time when they come in here and they occupy an office. If you had a magic wand, voila, there you go. What would you wave that wand and do or change? Would you need more people? You need more money? My constant complaint is give me more money.
Money is an issue because it's very hard to recruit and retain staff.
So where do you get your money from? So I get mine from, I always ask, where do you get your money?
The state of North Carolina.
So mine come from the commissioners, right?
Mm-hmm.
I love them, by the way, right? They take good care of me, make sure y'all and continue to do so, please. Thank you, right? But anyway, just joking. Yeah, they take care of me, and I love them. I do. We don't always agree. I don't always agree with, but, we always able to work our way through it. Yeah. So actually, I got to kind of get a kick out of it. Now it's kind of fun to me now to go over there. It's almost like, okay, I'm finna go argue with my sisters and my brothers.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, and that's how I look at it now. But yeah, where do you get your money from?
The state of North Carolina. So it's called the Administrative Offices of the Court for the state of North Carolina. They are basically what the title says. They're our administrative offices. So they determine salary. They determine policy. It's led by the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court. He has a staff there that manages the entire state of North Carolina.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm interested in having the county supplement us. So I may have to talk to you about how you work that magic with them. I don't work no magic with them, I promise you. It is a symbiotic relationship that we have. I realize that I need them. We need each other. I think that the sooner we realize in this space, in this county, that all these agencies are intertwined for the betterment of the people. If one agency is not succeeding, none of us are succeeding because we all indirectly affect each other. So, for example, if you having a problem at the clerk's office, I'm going to have a problem eventually because at some point your agency does something in conjunction or something that we have to work together on. Right. And so I think that we need to realize that as people who occupy these offices is that we have to be mindful of the power of collaboration and synergy, what we bring together. So that is my answer to your question. Okay. If I could wave a magic wand, what would I wish for? It would be collaboration between the agencies. I think some of it is situational. We all have our responsibilities that keep us busy.
Right.
And so we tend to only come together when there's a problem. And when you come together only when there's a problem, it's a little bit tougher to iron out the differences because you're already coming, prepared for the problem.
Yeah, a lot of tension there when you come together on the problem. I get it.
So we have a lot of individuals who make the judicial system work, and entities, not just individuals, but entities that make the judicial system work. And if I could somehow help us do a better job of talking before the problem instead of afterwards, I think that our judicial system would be so much better here in Forsyth County.
So guess what?
What?
I got a suggestion before I go to my next question.
Okay.
So my suggestion is that you spearhead these meetings. You call a meeting saying, hey, you know what? I like to meet with so-and-so, 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 and basically just discuss what's going on in the county and how we could help one another. And to be honest with you, that leads me into the next question. So the word on the street is, the street. I keep my ears to the street, right? The street information, a lot of times, is more valuable than what I see in print or hear on the news, right?
All right.
But the word on the street is that we're moving into a new building.
We are moving
now, you all are moving into a new building. Is that 2023, 24, 25, 26?
I have been told 2023. I've been told we should be in it by this time of next year.
You think so?
I've been told.
Well, word on the street is you probably going to be in there. You got to talk to the guy that's laying the bricks. He'll tell me when it's going to be in there.
Okay.
But on a serious note, so you're moving into a new building, right? I think that would be a great point now to start these conversations before tension takes place to where, so you know what, we're going to have monthly meetings. So what we do, we have area chiefs meetings every month where everybody that carries a gun and a badge in this county, we meet, whether it's the police chief at Winston-Salem State, the police chief at Wake Forest, Salem, Forsyth Tech. If I miss anybody, I apologize. Kernersville, Winston Police Department. And we meet for breakfast. And every month, we meet at a different location, somebody's space. And we talk about issues that affect law enforcement. We talk about issues that we can work on together. We talk about what's happening in each other's shop. And it would be a great idea if you spearhead that, to where you bring these people together from DA's office, Clerk of Court.
The local bar.
Local bar?
Mm-hmm. The attorneys who frequent the courthouse.
Okay, yeah, that's another one. Yeah, local bar.
We have 5 public law enforcement agencies.
Yeah, and to discuss what do you think you need from the sheriff's office? What do you need from the judge? What do you need from the bar's office? What do you need? Right? Be a good talking point, right?
I am just now at that point where I can do that. So coming in only 17 months ago, the first thing I had to do was get to know my staff.
You mean you sleep at night?
No, I don't.
I was going to say, I mean 17 months, that's a long, they built a hospital in China in 6 months. You know that, right?
I did not know that.
Yeah, they built a full operating hospital. So that's a joke around here. The joke around here is that he thinks we can make it overnight, right? Or, and the joke I tell them all the time is that if you Google it, you'll see that they built during the pandemic. No, this is serious. During the pandemic, you can fact check it. During the pandemic, they built the hospital, a full-fledged hospital working around the clock, different shifts, right? They got it up and going. So the moral of that story is that if they can do that, don't tell me what we can't do in 24 hours.
I hear you.
Yeah.
That
means if somebody ain't got to sleep, most of the time it's me that ain't sleeping, and you probably can tell.
Well, I have to tell you that my office made me stop. I'm sending emails in the middle of the night.
Well, I don't send emails in the night. What I do is, though, I keep in my phone, I keep notes, right? My son, he brought me up to the 21st century. He showed me how to work the note section and then set reminders, right?
Yeah.
So let's say somebody owed me something. He in my note section too, my son, like check on it, make sure his grades right. So I add stuff in my notes and it reminds me. So the next day when I get to work, I say, Ms. Coleman, can you send this? Or Ms. Howell, or whoever it is, right? So constantly it's something in the hoppers all the time. But
how long have you been in office?
Coming up on 4 years in December.
How long do you think it took you to get the staff around you that you needed to be able to function the way you function now?
Honestly?
You say 6 months, I'm done.
No, honestly, it took me about 3 months. When
Wow.
we came in the door, basically I said, hey, everybody here is family, right? I don't want nobody to leave. Nobody left. We didn't fire nobody. We didn't. And here's my expectations. I only have 2 rules. It's 2 rules around here. Two rules. Just answer the phone if I call you, and we don't do disrespect, right? If you disrespect somebody, which we don't have that, right? I look at it, we are a family here, a team here. We all in this together, right? When we come to a meeting, there is no rank in the room. For example, I've only sat at the head of the table one time in the big conference room around there. I had no choice that day because I wanted to make a point. But my point is that I never sit at the head of the table. We have a rule of thumb is that there's no rank in the room. When we meet, I know who I am, I know my title, but it's just grown men and women at the table trying to reach a workable solution. So it took us, we got it going relatively quick because I don't care what you did before, I don't care what you thought. And then we had an open door policy around here. If you didn't get what you wanted with your sergeant, lieutenant, you could keep going door till you came upstairs to see me. And, but now I will tell you, I would be here sometimes at 9 or 10 o'clock at night. I would tell you that my health started being affected, right? And so I had to slow down and restructure some things because I'm obsessed with, being the best law enforcement agency in the state. And so when I go around, I ask the guys and ladies, I said, what do you think my downfalls are? And they tell me that sometimes I'm too demanding, right? And I get that. I get accused of that a lot sometimes, right? But, we to the place now where they'll say, Sheriff, it's coming, just wait, just be patient. And I'll laugh and go about my business, right? Because I know that in my little mind, what I want sometimes may not be realistic. So, but I still remind them that they built a hospital. And sometimes they'll say, okay, we know they built the hospital. Right? So they get a little irritated with them, but I love it here. I love the people here. So I've been here 4 years. 4 years. Yeah. But so getting agencies together, getting the work closer together, a more cohesiveness between everybody involved, right? So let me ask you this. Joe, what do you see? So I'm moving too. We going upstairs. We're getting a whole new space upstairs, right?
Okay.
Yeah. So in this move, right? And you don't have to answer this question. You don't. You can say, no, I'm not gonna. Do you think that this new courthouse, right? That's what it's gonna call, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you think it's gonna be adequate? You don't have to answer.
I think that it's going to present challenges. But
and the reason I ask that because, the world on the street, folk, sometimes when you're walking by up and down the street, you hear stuff. I'm not ear hustling, but sometimes I'm walking, people will say, you know what, the courthouse is going to be too small day one we move in, right? You hear things, right? And so everybody's going to be moving in there, right? I just like to know what their opinion is. I ask a lot of people, they'll give me their opinion. Some people will say, we'll see. So
I think there are going to be challenges.
I like that, challenges, yeah.
But I think that the clerk's office staff and I have the ability to make it work.
Y'all think y'all got an office space? I can get an extra office space over.
Don't get me started. I've seen the plans.
Just joking. So are you excited about that?
I'm excited about the move. I'm excited about the opportunity to make the courthouse better for this community. The move is going to be tough, but the courthouse that we are in right now is not adequate. Yeah.
So I got a question for you, right?
Absolutely.
I'm putting myself on the spot.
Okay.
So from sitting where you sit, what do you see that we can do at the sheriff's office to better serve what you do at your space?
We need to talk more.
Okay.
We need to talk more.
All right. We need to talk more.
Because I think that the sheriff's office and the clerk's office do what we can, when we see each other, to make it better for each agency.
Mm-hmm.
But like I said before, let's see each other before the problem arises instead of after.
Okay.
So your staff has been very accommodating. They walk over every time I call and say, hey, I need some help with this. But if we, like you said, just meet regularly and say, hey, this is what's going on.
So I'm going to challenge you to put that in motion. Right. So.
Do you want to see my list of things to do?
Oh, so you need to move us up to the top then and say, okay, hey, we're going to have these monthly meetings every 2 months, every 3 months, quarter, whatever you want to do them, right?
Okay.
I think it will benefit a lot of the people that involved, especially, so you're saying next year this time, right? So you're talking basically 11 months, right?
Mm-hmm.
11 months. Listen, I'm not a planner. I'm not an event planner, but I matriculated through a few places, and what my mind tells me is that we need to start having some meetings now.
I agree.
Because 11 months gonna pop like that, right? And we're gonna be standing out there with bag lunches trying to figure out, or putting tags down, who go here, right?
What I can tell you is that I've been planning for this since I came into office.
Okay. Well, before we go, I got one more question for you, but I got to tell a side story, right? A little not known fact, right?
Okay.
So several years ago, I had this bet with this person. I'm going to leave the name unknown. And they were telling me, well, I made a comment that anybody can get in law school, right? That's what I told them. I said, because, I mean, I've met a lot of lawyers, you know, and I said, I probably can get in there without even studying, right? So I went and bought this book, LSAT for Dummies, that they sell at Barnes and Nobles. I took it. I don't know what the score was, but they had this program down at Central, right? Not Chapel Hill, excuse me, but another great law school, North Carolina Central. And so I got into this program, right? And needless to say, I was there for about a month.
Law school?
And the agreement was that it wasn't a good fit for both of us. So I came on back to the house. You know, I was trying to get in the evening program where you compete for the spots, right? Mm-hmm. So I went down there trying to compete for one of those spots in the evening class, and I wasn't at the time. I was trying to work a full-time job it wasn't for me. It wasn't for me. But I came on back to the house. So you know, that's one of my unknown facts.
Now known.
Yeah, now known, right? Now known, right? So yeah, few people knew it, but not a lot of people, right? But it didn't work for me. But hey, here we go. So
what's your question?
Last question before we go. At the end of the day, right? At the end of the day, what do you want to see the clerk's office? What do you want to see in the days to come, the years to come? What do you want to see with the clerk?
It's a multifaceted question. What do I want to see for the community? What do I want to see for the clerks? What do I want?
Of course, for the community, because that's what's most important. I want to know what you see, or what would be your vision for the community as well as the clerk's office.
Historically, courthouses were meeting places. It was that safe place that people in the community came to for whatever reason. It wasn't just to resolve issues. Now we're the place where you come if there's a problem. I would like us to get back to, it's the place where you come for whatever. It's a public building. It's a safe place. I want the community to come in and be able to leave with whatever information they need to make whatever their problem is manageable. I can't say I'm going to make it go away, but I can help you manage it. We're getting better with that. We're getting better with asking questions. We're getting better about not saying, well, you got to go to the office next door. No, they're with you now. What can you do to help them now? So we're getting better with that. That's what I want for the community. I want the community to have a clerk's office that they can call and not automatically be on the defensive. I want them to call and say, okay, this place is going to help me. One of the things I did when I came in, and granted I came in during the pandemic, but I'm a planner like that, is that I asked clerks who wanted to be a part of a community outreach team. We've had that team, our list of clerks who wanted to do it ever since I came in 17 months ago. But, COVID restrictions prevented us from doing that.
What would that community outreach look like? What would y'all do?
What I envisioned is us going out into the community and figuring out what the community needed for us, and then also telling the community what services we provide, because a lot of people don't know. Unless something has happened to you, you don't know what you can do at the courthouse. We get a lot of calls about taxes. The taxes on my property went up. That's not the courthouse. We get calls about, I need my marriage license. It's not the courthouse. So I would like for us to go, and I'm showing my age on this. So I have a history in education, so I, of course, want us to go into the schools. I think a lot of our young people don't know how the criminal justice system works. But we also have people who want to know about adoptions and custody. I mean, high schoolers who want to know because they're in that situation. I also want to go to assistant living and senior living facilities because they're going to be affected eventually by coming to our office for probate.
You can do that. You know that, right?
Well, we can do that now. But also, when I say to you that my list is long, it has been a very demanding 17 months for me. Not only did I come in during the pandemic, but I came in being the third clerk in 2 years. So it was, one, how do we catch up for the 9 months that basically offices were closed? Because as the courts opened up and attorneys and the public came in, they thought that we could just pick up where we were. And there was a lack of understanding that we have about nine months of paperwork and cases that haven't been addressed. So having to get us quickly to being current was a lot of work. I requested an audit that revealed a lot of issues, and I was given 6 months to correct them. So having to do that was a lot of work. At the same time, I'm still trying to learn my team and make us into a team, because I don't feel that I had a team when I came in. Changing the culture of an office to one of we're in it together has been hard. Historically, clerks came in and they said, I'm a criminal clerk, I'm a estates clerk. I don't know what they do over there and I don't want to know. Well, now our clerks know we have training daily. We know what all the offices do. How do you answer questions when the person gets the wrong number? If they get transferred to estates instead of criminal, how do you answer those questions? I don't want them directed to criminal. I want that estates clerk to be able to provide them with as much information, because that's their first point of contact that clerk can give. So doing that, we had a gift of 30,000 expungements that basically took out about a third of my office to get it done in 3 months. So that got us to February, and in February, I'm running for re-election. So it has been a lot to accomplish, and that's in addition to the daily activities of I have clerks in court, I have clerks answering phones, I have clerks working with the public. It seems like a lot, 100 clerks is a lot. It isn't when you have so many things that those clerks are doing during the day. So now we are at the point, unless some other big projects, and I don't think the public understands, like when we have decisions coming down from the Court of Appeals that affects, I'll give you an example. Right now we have a decision that came down from the Court of Appeals that affects the DMV. So we have a lot of prior defendants coming in based on this Court of Appeals decision to have things done. And it's adding to our docket in courts, and it's adding to what we have to do on the counters. People don't realize that we have things like that take groups of clerks away from doing our regular job. And so it's hard to get back to, okay, COVID restrictions have been lifted. How do we make time to prepare for going out into the community to do these things? I am one who believes, and for a number of reasons. One, because the clerks are working from 8 to 5. It is nonstop. It's not like you get to sit down and take a breath. But they also don't get paid very well. So I am one who believes that you work from 8 to 5. If you stay after hours, I have to compensate you for that by giving you that time off some other time. So being able to do what we do daily and then get together as a group to say, this is where our plan is for going out into community is a challenge for us right now. But we're working on it.
That's good stuff.
Yeah.
So I think that's a good plan to get out into the community. That's one of the things that we established early on is that
you did.
You have to have community credibility and be a part of the community I always like to thank Miss McManus and her predecessor for allowing us to come into the school system. So every Monday, we go teach a class at the elementary school every Monday. We've been doing that for years now. And I think that by doing that, the community sees you differently. They see that you care. And I think that you own to something when you start talking about getting into the community.
Well, so this is my plug to the county commissioners. A lot of limitations on the clerk's office is that we don't have a budget. So pursuing a supplemental budget from the county commissioners would allow us to do things like go into the community, because we're going to need equipment. And if the state of North Carolina doesn't provide it for us, we don't have it. I mean, we can go out and talk, but it'd be beneficial for students if we had things that would engage them. So we need things like that. But also because bringing people into the courthouse requires collaboration with the county. So I don't know if you're aware of this, but typically we can't have people in the courthouse without security in the courthouse. Well, you know.
What do you think about the security in the courthouse?
I would love for the sheriff's department to be more active throughout the courthouse. So we had the Boy Scouts come in one weekend, and you know, I was nervous the whole time because, you know, I have to make sure that I'm watching them and that nothing is done that would be a safety issue for our courthouse. But if we had more collaboration with the county, maybe we could do that more often as, again, a meeting place for the community.
There may be a conversation that, you know, more collaboration from the sheriff's office in the new building. You know, a lot of the services over there are contracted out. And that's
in the new building or over in the
where you're now. Some of the services are contracted out, but I'm saying in the new building, there'll be this might be the time to have that conversation with those meetings that we're talking about, is to see how can we have more security in the building going in, as opposed to reacting. Let's be proactive on this.
I've been a part of those meetings. I'd love to have
it again.
I've
seen you there.
It's a different group of leadership over there now, so maybe the outcome will be different.
Yeah.
So that's the other thing that's been a challenge for the clerk's office. Not only am I new to the clerk's office, but we have a new chief district court judge. We have a new chief justice of the Supreme Court, and they came in with different policies, and I had to, you know, implement those. Yeah. So maybe it's a different conversation now.
Well, I welcome that conversation. I want you to know that I have thoroughly enjoyed having this conversation with you.
Thank you. You made it easy. Thank you for that.
Yeah, getting to know you a little more. So I'm going to give you the last word before we take it home.
I want to thank the community, the Forsyth County, Winston-Salem community for, one, giving me the opportunity to serve you, but for your patience as we have transitioned into new leadership and as we transition into a new courthouse next year. Thank you.
It's good stuff. Well, as always, I've enjoyed you coming across the street. Good to see you again. Wish you well. Wish you success. And as always, I want to thank you all for joining us on Off the Cuffs. Have a great rest of your week. Thank you.